So this is an overview of Nearpod, which is a program we purchase as a district. So if you need a login or an account made, just let me know and I'd be happy to make one for you. When you get your account, you can see that there are some different settings that are available, both managing your account and also lesson settings. So you will want to read through these and see what you think. You can have names autofill. There's an immersive reader option that you can add. There is whether or not you want to enable student notes, whether you want to be able to show the students during a student pace mode the quiz and multiple choice question results, and whether they are allowed to resubmit their answers in live participation mode. You can enable a collaborate board for student-paced lessons. The only thing with that is that you may want to make sure you set it so that you approve the posts so that you can make sure that they are not posting anything inappropriate. So that's up to you. And then require student responses and prevent skipping in student-paced mode. So if you are sending out the student-paced mode, this makes it so that they have to respond and they can't skip ahead through a video. They actually have to watch it. So you can set that all in here in those settings. You are also able to use a school library or district library if anybody else in your grade band has loaded lessons in there. You can look at those and see if you like them. There are also reports available. If you are looking here on the left, you can select them there. You can also select them from the 3 dots next to your lesson. So if you've sent them out self-paced or you've sent an activity to be done, like a breakout room activity, then you can see the reports for those. You can see every student's answer on each of the slides that you have asked them to do. Now, moving on, there is also a chance to make folders to organize your information and, of course, to create new lessons, videos, or activities. So if you create a new lesson, you'll upload a lesson that you have, or you can start fresh, create slides within that lesson. You can add a video with built-in questions similar to Play Pause It or Edpuzzle. You can also choose an activity. Those would be matching pairs, time to climb, draw it, which really could be any text. They could also be a typing slide, and drag and drop, like a manipulative sort of activity. All of those are choices within your lessons as well. So if you create a lesson, you would start with uploading and dragging here a PNG file, a PowerPoint file, or a PDF. Any of those work. I'm going to upload a PowerPoint. I will use this one because I'm pulling it from my desktop. If I had it in Google Drive, I would grab it here. Dropbox if I'm putting in a picture, and OneDrive if I've saved it to OneDrive. Now this will pop up. You can select to create a PDF viewer or individual slides, which is what we're going to do. It does take a couple of minutes, so sit back and relax. Just wait for it to process. Once it processes, all of the slides will show up on your screen, and then you can add new content and activities here or here. If you want to look at the different choices that they have for content, you can click here. You can create brand new slides using one of these two. You can insert a video. Web content, vocabulary has some cool videos. Maybe some of them might be a little bit young for certain grade levels. I used a lot of them in 6th grade, and they have great songs that go along with science topics that I think the kids really found enjoyable. So it's always fun to see what they have there and see if there's anything that you can use. There is also a place where you can add BBC video, Desmos for a graphing calculator, virtual field trips, PhET simulations, which is great for math and science. There's Nearpod 3D, Sway slideshows, audios, PDF. You can also go down or click on the other tab for activities. These are some of the ones that we looked at earlier, but you can also integrate Flipgrids, memory tests, a collaborative board where you can have students post their responses and it puts it up like Post-it notes on the board, Again, this was the one we talked about with a setting where you may want to make sure that you edit those, and that's a simple choice. I'll show you where that is. Open-ended questions, matching pairs, polls, fill in the blanks, quizzes, etc. Those are all activities that you can select. All right, so if I was putting in my slideshow here, I may start by going to settings and giving it a name. This was about hydroelectric power. You can give a description. You can select the grades and the subject. This is a 6th grade science lesson, so that's what I selected, and then submit. Now, some of these slides I wouldn't use if I were using this for a breakout room activity or if I were using it as a self-paced lesson. So I may take out some of these and I may leave instead the ones where there's something active for them to do. So this is a fill in the blank activity. I can click on that and convert to draw it. Do I want to keep a copy of the original slide? I always say no because I don't want them to have 2 copies of the same slide. But maybe for some reason you did. But that's now converted to a draw it. What that does is it will let students then use their typing tools and fill in the blanks with their own writing as they go along. Now, there's another way that we could do that same activity, and that would be with movable pieces. So there is also a video about movable pieces if you're interested, but you could also go in and instead you can add movable pieces as an activity. So that was, again, drag and drop. So if I wanted to add drag and drop, I would need to have those words from the word bank, text labels, and then I would type them in here. So, for instance, if it were water, hydroelectric, things like that, you would add them here. You can add instructions, you can add a question at the top, all that good stuff. When you're done, don't forget to click save to save your work. When you do create that, it does bring it to the end, so you may want to drag it up where you want it again. The other things that you can do, there's lots of other things that you can do, but say for instance, I wanted to have the students go on a field trip, and we're talking about hydroelectric power. So I'm going to search for hydroelectric power in the field trip section. If I add this activity, I can drag it wherever I want. I can also look at it and preview it. You could enter virtual reality mode, or you can just go back and forth using the tools up and down, looking at this hydroelectric power plant in winter. Not a ton that you can see scientifically, so maybe you want to go back and choose a different one. There are lots of different choices, ones that you can see a little bit more of how it works and what's going on. So for instance, this one, you can actually see where the water is being held back by the barrage. So maybe you want to use something like this and talk about, they could look at where the energy is potential and where it's kinetic and things like that as they're looking at that 3D VR field trip. So if I wanted to add that, I would just click done, and you will see it here at the end. So maybe you want to culminate with a field trip. Maybe you want to culminate with a collaborative board. The collaborate board looks like this. You enter your topic, and a description. So maybe I want it to be the text answer, and maybe in this one, I want them to find a picture and copy and paste the picture. So you choose a style. Maybe I want to choose blue because it's water. You can add a picture here as well, and then save it. This will prompt students to, when they go in, to paste a picture. So on their screen, it will give them the topic, and it will say post a picture of a hydroelectric power plant, and then you can go ahead and do that. They can submit their answers. As you go through each of these, there's lots of different things that you can add to make it more exciting for students and interactive. Once you're done, make sure you save and exit. Then once you have this here, you can see there's a choice of both a live participation or student paced. So live would be if you're doing it along with them. Student paced, they could move through on their own. So if you were going to be out for a day, you might want to send the student paced link and have them do some independent practice. You can preview what it will look like on each slide. So you can preview the slides. This is the one where they'll have tools down here. So they could use a drawing tool. They can make it thinner or thicker if they wanted to. This is a spray painting tool. Most likely they will use the text tool and it will give them a text box, and then they can resize it and type within it to answer the questions. There's also a chance for them to upload images with those tools and lots of different activities there. So that's what it would look like from a student perspective. So again, to get to that, you go to the main screen, hover over the lesson that you made, and go to preview. You can also see over here, they're offering me some different suggestions of lessons that I may want to use. So that always helps you to be able to see that as well. As you go through, you can click through and get to the activities that we added at the end. This was the fill in the blank one that we just did for fun. This is the virtual reality field trip to the power plant. And then this is where it's asking them to post a picture of a hydroelectric power plant. So they will go ahead and drag and drop, or they can search here. Find a picture of a hydroelectric power plant, select it, and then once they save it, they can then post it. If you have it set where you want to approve it first, it will come to you first. Other people in the class can give it a heart if they like the picture. They can also add pictures. So at the end of this, there would be a collaborative board of lots of different pictures. If you had asked a question that required a text response, it would allow them to type, share their thoughts here. You could also do that as well, and then post. All right, so they can use any of those ways to show. Then you can save the lesson here and go back. The links again will pop up. You can do live or student paced here as well. Lots of different places where you can get those links. You can also come in and decide to do a quick launch. So if you suddenly had a great idea for a collaborate board that you wanted to do, you can do a quick launch and just go in and make one. You can also make an open-ended question. So if neuro breakout rooms are giving you trouble and you wanted to have them come in and do an activity here instead, the quick launch is a great way to just go in and do that. It also has a timer function as well. So if you wanted to click open-ended question, you could go ahead and type your question here. You can add an image or other media, like maybe watch this video clip and tell me, and then ask that. You can enable student audio recordings. You can let them record audio and play it back so that they can listen to it again. Any of those work. You can also add a timer to this activity. So lots of different choices for the quick launch. When you select quick launch, obviously you have to finish it, but again, it will give you the links to send it out to students. And you would just put that link in Neuro Chat and they would come over and complete that in Nearpod. So a lot of ways that Neuro and Nearpod can work together. If you have any questions, let me know.